Hello everyone, you're now with me, Ruben Gomez, for the Nightline. Hope you all okay. Let's moving on to the news. The commercial settlement agreement signed between the Sarawak government and Petroleum Nasional Berhad Petronas will open a new chapter in efforts to further stimulate the development of the oil and gas industry, including creating various business opportunities as well as the development of related industries in Sarawak, said the Prime Minister's office.
Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin welcomed the agreement to settle the issue involving the state's oil and gas management via a commercial agreement. The signing was also witnessed by Sarawak Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg and Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Abdul Aziz. The Prime Minister's office said the agreement struck would enable Sarawak government's subsidiary Petroleum Sarawak Berhad, or Petros, to play a larger role in the oil and gas industry by collaborating with Petronas. In addition, it said this was set to open more opportunities for oil and gas service providers in Sarawak to be involved in more areas related to the industry. The two parties' agreement and a cooperation in sealing the commercial deal truly demonstrated the federal government's commitment to resolve the matter together with the Sarawak state government.
Right. The Sarawak government and Petroleum Nasional Berhad Petronas have agreed to the establishment of a consultative framework to facilitate and monitor the implementations of the terms of the commercial settlement agreement. Deputy Chief Minister Dato' Amar Awang Tengali Hassan said this was to ensure that the interests of Sarawak would be given utmost consideration by Petronas in its decision-making process, especially pertaining to the management of the offshore petroleum operations.
Awang Tengah said while Petroleum Sarawak Berhad, or Petros, would be given the authority to manage and carry out onshore petroleum operations, Petronas would provide access to Petros, data gathered from its past petroleum development efforts so that the potentials of the petroleum resources could be realized. Awang Tengah said the Sarawak government will collaborate with Petronas to create and maintain a stable and investment-friendly environment conducive for the sustainable development and growth of the oil and gas industry, both upstream and downstream in Sarawak. He believed the agreement manifested the common desire of both parties to cooperate constructively to bring the oil and gas industry in Sarawak to greater heights.
Meanwhile, Petroleum Nasional Berhad Petronas and the Sarawak state government today signed a commercial settlement agreement on the issues involving the state's sales tax and oil mining laws. Petronas President and Group Chief Executive Officer Tengku Muhammad Taufik Tengku Aziz said the commercial settlement agreement would establish a framework between the National Oil Company and the state government. It will see Sarawak more actively involved in its onshore oil and gas activities through Petroleum Sarawak Berhad Petros. Petronas hopes that the expeditious granting of necessary licenses and the processing of matters relating to land and immigration under the state's jurisdiction would be facilitated. Tengku Muhammad Taufik said the agreement would open new avenues for collaboration between Petronas and Petros, including the development of the Sarawak Gas Master Plan and ongoing efforts to encourage more participations by Sarawakian vendors. He said Petronas' relationship with Sarawak had been significant returns to the state as both shared the same aspiration for its oil and gas sector. As for the joint chairman of the Sarawak Petronas Negotiations Committee, Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof, the agreement between Petronas and Sarawak are essence of consultation, understanding and cooperation.
What's most significant is, Fadilah described, was the historical ceremony witnessed by the Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin and the Chief Minister of Sarawak, Datuk Patinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg. With this agreement, Fadilah hopes all parties involved will achieve a vision of prosperity together by 2030.
Welcome back. Sarawak recorded 2 new COVID-19 cases today. This brings the total number of positive cases in the state to 1,070.
State Disaster Management Committee in a statement said one locally transmitted case in Surin involved an Indonesian woman who is the wife of case 1000. The second case involved a local man in Kuching who just returned from Gabon in Central Africa on December 2nd. The committee added Kuching and Surin districts remain as yellow zones, with each recording 2 new cases in the past 14 days. Meanwhile, 2 more new clusters detected in Malaysia. The first was Malawati cluster involving the district of Kuala Selangor. The second cluster involved the Lembah Pantai and Titiwangsa areas in Kuala Lumpur and Klang district in Selangor. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said Malaysia remained at 4 digits today with 1,600 infections. This brings the cumulative figure of positive cases to 74,294.
Issues over supply of COVID-19 vaccine, the supply faced by pharmaceutical company Pfizer, as claimed by an international media, will not affect its supply for Malaysia. Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Khairi Jamaluddin Abu Bakar said, according to the media report, this problem would only affect this year's production.
Khairi said if there are disruptions in the supply chain, government will identify other vaccine portfolios from various companies, as relying on one company could open to risk of not getting sufficient vaccine supply for Malaysians. Commenting on the additional costs that may be incurred in addition to the 3 billion ringgit allocation, Khairi said each agreement with vaccine manufacturers would take into account costs such as transportation and storage. He said this in response to a supplementary question from Ahmad Fahmi Muhammad Fadzil, PH Lembah Pantai, on whether the vaccine supply chain issues reported by Reuters would affect the supply of COVID-19 vaccines to Malaysia. Responding to the original question, Khairi said Malaysia has so far signed 2 agreements to secure enough supply of COVID-19 vaccine for 30% of the population. The first agreement was with the Global COVAX facility through the optional purchase agreement signed on November 23rd, which guarantees a vaccine supply for 10% of the population, while the second deal was an initial purchase agreement with Pfizer inked on November 24th to provide the vaccine supply for 20% of the population, which is 12.8 million doses. He said the government will not compromise the safety and efficacy of the vaccines procured, and the final decisions of the usage of a vaccine will only be done after it is registered and approved by the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency (NPRA) under the Ministry of Health.
The Sarawak state government aims to achieve the target of 0 squatters by 2025. Assistant Minister of Town Planning, Land Administration and Environment, Dato' Lan Talif Saleh, said among the measures would be the allocations of units in the People's Housing Programme, PPR.
Pertama dari segi pendekatan, di mana memperuntukkan unit-unit rumah kosong, that is stok rumah, sedia ada bagi program perumahan rakyat, PPR, sewa dan rancangan perumahan rakyat, RPR, pada setinggan yang memohon serta yang menepati kriteria tertentu. Kedua ialah memperuntukkan minimum 20% unit rumah PPR dimiliki baharu yang dibangunkan oleh Kementerian Perumahan dan Kerajaan Tempatan Malaysia KPKT pada setinggan yang memohon dan menepati kriteria. Dan ketiganya ialah memperuntukkan minimum 20% unit-unit rumah spektra permata yang dibangunkan di atas tanah HDC, Housing Development Corporation, kepada setinggan yang memohon dan menepati kriteria ini.
Len Talef commented that among the measures to solve this issue would be to allocate vacant housing units for the PPR program and allocate a minimum of 20% of new housing units.
Kita sudah mengenal pasti tiap-tiap kawasan, sama ada di Kuching, Sibu, Miri, Bintulu yang ditekankan atau dibetung, seperti program SPS, SPK, skim pembangunan pembesaran kampung dan skim pendapatan semula. This part of the program untuk mengurangkan setinggan-setinggan ini Jadi dan dalam skim ini kita kerajaan negeri akan menyediakan infrastruktur yang komplit, seperti jalan raya diturap dan sebagainya lah.
He also added that the issue of the squatters' settlement has been identified, including Miri, Bintulu and Sibu, and also in towns including Sarike, Bintango, Betong and Kapit.
The timber industry has been one of the major contributors to Sarawak's socio-economic development. Engineered timber is one of the potential products in the timber industry that has the potential to further develop. Therefore, Sarawak needs to forge its collaboration with higher institutions as well as other research agencies and industry players to develop engineered timber products.
Assistant Minister of Urban Planning, Land Administration and Environment, Datuk Lentalif Salit said the world market of engineered timber is valued at $41.27 billion in 2022. He said that it is a huge market where the state should participate in the future.
Inilah satu-satunya cabaran untuk kita semua. Jadi in tandem with the government aspiration to become a developed state by the year 2030, we have set a target of 8 billion export value of timber product. So that is to me, is very tall order. But nevertheless, at least we have set a target by which each and every one of us has a role to play to ensure that we can achieve that target.
He said this at a seminar known as the 2020 Engineered Timber Product Seminar, hosted by the Sarawak Timber Industry Development Corporation in collaboration with University Technology Mara or UITM Shah Alam. Lentalif said the timber industry players also need to enhance their capacity building in terms of knowledge and technologies. He hoped the industry players would rise to this challenge and explore further the development of timber products such as engineered timber, which is commonly used globally as part of building components.
Smart partnerships between industry players and the vocational education and training TVET institution is vital to developing skilled human capital. Assistant Minister of Trade and Development of Small and Medium Enterprises, Datuk Muhammad Naruddin Majai, said in achieving this, the Ministry of Education and Matang Vocational College has signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU to strengthen technical and vocational education.
Senario seperti ini sudah berbeza kerana pada hari ini kerajaan memberi tumpuan kepada pelajar untuk belajar bukan sahaja mengejar kecemerlangan dalam bidang akademik tetapi juga dalam menguasai bidang kemahiran teknikal dan vocational di mana mereka ini akan belajar.
The support from respective industry players will ensure the success of the TVET empowerment and its benefits towards industrial state known globally.
Semua program yang diajar di Kolej Vocational Matang itu telah diiktirafkan oleh MQA dan MPOT. Beritahukan kepada warga pendidik Kolej Vocational Matang. Sabah sertanya kepada semua pihak. Kerana dengan adanya pengiktirafan penuh ini daripada MQA dan MPOT inilah dikatakan Malaysian Board of Technologies telah mengiktirafkan program-program
bagi khidmat nasihat dari segi teknikal dan sebagainya. Selain daripada kita offer kalau ada student sedanyakah yang lepasannya nak mengadakan sama ada latihan praktikal ataupun mungkin kalau ada peluang pekerjaan kita boleh try to promote to the industry.
The federal government has distributed an allocations of 152.5 million ringgit to the Sarawak government for the Longhouse Loan Scheme. To this day, a total of 8,915 longhouse units have been built and repaired.
According to Deputy Minister of Finance Muhammad Shah Abdullah, for 2020, a sum of 10 million ringgit have been channeled to the state government for the financing purpose.
Sebarang keperluan pada masa hadapan untuk meningkatkan peruntukan yang disediakan kepada program skim pinjaman rumah panjang Sarawak adalah bergantung kepada kemampuan dan kedudukan kewangan kerajaan persekutuan.
He added the federal government would welcome if the Sarawak government could assist in the contribution of funds for the loan scheme.
Memandangkan ia merupakan salah satu projek infrastruktur dan pembangunan sosioekonomi yang memberi manfaat secara langsung kepada penduduk negeri Sarawak.
In view of the increasing demand from the Longhouse community, the loan scheme is slated for borrowers from the low-income group to build and repair the longhouses.
Welcome back. Rumah Maxwell at Oya Road, Cebu, created its own history when it became the first longhouse in Sarawak to host an e-sports tournament. Usually, the competition is held within the city. However, a different round it was carried out in a 22-door longhouse of the Iban community that attracted more than 30 teams to participate.
Assistant Minister for Education, Science and Technological Research of Sarawak, Dr. Anwar Rapai, noted that organising the tournament in Longhouse provides more chances to players coming from different races and ethnicities, as well as making it a platform to scout for new talents to represent Sarawak for the Sukma Games 2021 in esports.
Dengan ini sebab dia mendapat sambutan yang begitu hebat jika diperhatikan melalui upload kita dalam Facebook, viewers untuk pertandingan hari ini adalah seramai 28,000. Jadi ia merupakan suatu pertandingan yang amat diminati oleh para belia. Sebab itu tadi telah dicadangkan supaya selepas ini mereka akan ke Dun Murun dan juga ke Dun Baleh, dan saya mencadangkan supaya Dun Bukit Goram dimasukkan dalam siri jelajah mereka menganjurkan pertandingan ini di zon tengah.
Following the overwhelming response from the players at the set location, broadband will be at Rumah Maxwell to enable the youth there to continue their participation in the upcoming tournament.
The Sarawak government's move of introducing its own brand petroleum gas, Petronas, depicts the state's readiness to be directly involved in the exploration of oil and gas industry. This includes producing own products that will further generate the state's additional income, which would then be utilized to help Sarawakians.
Reviewing the matter, Tupong Assemblyman Fazruddin Abdul Rahman said it was the first step towards the bigger success in supplying LPG to the people. Meanwhile, Serembu Assemblyman Miro Simo opened that in the long term, Petronas will be the main player in the industry. Citing the Chief Minister, Miro said LPG Petronas will bring additional income to the state, especially when there is a 50% subsidy from the federal government. LPG Sarawak, owned by Petronas, was launched on December 2nd. The 14-kilogram cylinder gas will roll out next year in Kuching and Samarahan and statewide by 2022.
Handicraft produced by local community, especially from the rural areas, will soon have an avenue to showcase their product, with the potential of penetrating the international market through the establishment of a craft centre in the Tatau district, which serves as a collection centre and trade.
Dr. John Siki Tayai said once completed, local craft makers will have a venue to market their product, such as woven mats, woven baskets, sumpit, and many more.
Kita baru si rumah KTC kena digunakan sirap pejabat daerah, lalu nya kada renovate. Kendul bala kita yang agak city center craft kendul bala kita ke baut kita 60 kakus tu. Ngambil kendul kita anjung barang kita dia, kita ngasuh orang mesti jaga siapa kia awak kurang beli nemu giga nama utai guna sedak dia. Jadi nyak city cara aku kan nolong mantuk bala kita itu tadi udah kita bisi produk kita impu. Lebih lagi bakal utai kita gagal sekedar bala kita ke landia. Kita kena jari bergagak ketika yang bergagak nama-nama berlok ke bakul kau semua take punya. Jadi bakal saya nak kepunan pandai-pandai pada kepunan dalam baju-baju saya nak kepunan gambar saya.
He, who is the Assistant Minister for Native Laws and Customs in the Chief Minister Department, hopes that local craftsmen would tap on this opportunity and utilize the online platform to promote their crafts.
Kita kena jaga kurus semangat kujaku kita. Kita mesti berunding nak secara dagang, secara komersial bagai-bagai. Jadi, nagai kita keminat bak craft. Tahu ke craft tangan tu tadi. Craft tangan macam-macam craft. Aku minta bala kita itu tadi mesti register. Mesti register mo dari ngau Sarawak Craft Council. Tau kanggo Malaysia Craft Council.
He said this at the Creative Craft Dinner ceremony in conjunction with 7th series of the Agriculture program on Saturday. Meanwhile, one of the program participants, Lima Abud, said that he has gained great knowledge of making kain buri or buri fabrics and successfully sold several of the said products.
Aku Puan Lima Abud dari rumah dok aku ngadi aku ke kumpulan keterubah. Diajar yang berbahagia datin Malaysia belajar ngagak kain buria. Lalu dia tahu aku dah nemu ngagak Kediri. Dalam tempoh hari mula kami belajar subak sampai dia tahu aku dah nyua 10 itik kain buria.
Right, that's conclude our Nightline today. Just a friendly reminder, the war on COVID-19 haven't ended yet. So remember, break the chain, always adhere to SOP, wear your mask, practice physical distancing, and wash your hand, whatever you touch, or whoever you touch, or avoid touching anything. Ruben Gomez, anytime, anywhere.